Hi. Okay, well, my name is Marche.
My name is Joseph Harris.
Hi, I'm Casey Herman.
My name is Holbrook Hankinson.
My name is Mahogany Brim.
I'm part of the luxurious Lambda Tau chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and I am the president.
I'm a member of the first Black collegiate organization, Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, founded at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York in 1906.
I'm part of the luxurious Lambda Tau chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
I'm a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity.
I am a part of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
I am a Spring 21 initiate of the luxurious Lambda Tau chapter. One of the biggest reasons was definitely the women here on campus and the love and support that they gave and showed me as a first year sophomore. It's not easy navigating the Paul's campus as a Black woman, and so they're always welcoming with open arms to just come over and talk, eat food, vent about whatever, and then getting to know them more, seeing all the hard work that they do on campus, being involved in different organizations, holding high academic standards for themselves and excelling very well in school. It was just very admirable, and so I wanted to be a part of something like that.
I became a member in 1974, March of 1974, when I was here at DePaul. Charles Bennett was actually our Dean of Pledges, and he basically told us everything that we knew at the time about this fraternity called Kappa Alpha Psi. He told us that we would develop our leadership skills, we would build connections that would last a lifetime, and I think those were the two things that led me to join more than anything else. One of the things that really got me was he said, well, now that he's a Kappa, he can go anywhere in the world and there's a Kappa there and he's always got a place to stay. I just thought that was a wonderful thing. And it's actually true. So
I joined in the spring of 2021, and I basically joined Zeta because towards the end of my freshman year, I had seen great work come out of the organization. I never really thought much about Greek life. I didn't think I would be interested in it until I met the Zetas at the time, who were Shar, Latoya, Jordan, and when I saw they were kind of really active on campus, maintaining these high GPAs, also running their own side businesses. It was really inspiring to me because it was oh, I could be a powerhouse of a woman too. Teach me how, and they were Zeta. And so, of course, I asked around, I did my research, I read the D9 book. As I started to learn more, it just became apparent that Zeta was always for me. And so, yeah, I joined because I just really wanted to be a better woman, and my personal beliefs aligned with the sorority's goals and purpose.
I joined my organization in spring 21, and the reason why I joined Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated was because the women that I experienced in Zeta, they were much so trailblazers, and they were very caring for their community, and they wanted to see other women of color grow, and that aligns with a lot of my goals in life, helping women grow, especially Black women, and giving them the resources that they need to be in a financially stable position and economic success too. So that's why I wanted to be a Zeta, because I was really about helping others and changing the world.
I joined Alpha in the spring of 1997, May 4th, 1997. To be exact, I just celebrated my 25th year in the fraternity, which is weird because now I've been a member of the fraternity longer than I haven't been a member of the fraternity. It's a good question. It's a little long, so bear with me. I always wanted to be Greek. I always wanted to join a Black Greek-related organization. I always knew that. I've had family who are Greek, and so I knew it was a connection I wanted. It was I liked the causes, I liked the values, I liked the camaraderie, I liked all those things. And so at that point it just became which one I wanted to join. So there's broad similarities. It's not like one org is for the betterment of Black people and another org is not, right? And so it's about finding one that fits you. When I was showed interest is right around the time of the Main Man March. My church was one of those churches that said we should all be working for the betterment of Black people, regardless of who you think is involved. There are larger things at stake, and so we support this march. And so we were passing out literature to do so. My church had asked me to pass out some flyers at my college. I went to HBCU, said no problem, and so I asked for help. And I I went to one fraternity. They told me that they would pass out flyers for Me and My March if I helped them pass out flyers for their party. And so I was instantly sort of turned off like, we're talking about the Me and My March, you talking about a party? Another org immediately started talking about all the things they did that semester, and I was like, okay, that's cool, but we're talking about the Me and My March, we're talking about educating black people, we're talking about getting bigger awareness about some larger issues, and you're just kind of talking about the things you've done on campus. So I was annoyed by that. Another org had gotten into trouble, and so they weren't even there to do anything. And I'll never forget, I went to the student union, and Brian Davis, then SGA president, who also was a member of Alpha Alpha, was there. And I gave him the same spiel I gave everybody else. I said, hey, my church, Me and My March, we're passing out flyers. Can you help out? I don't know a lot of people right now. I know my little group of folks, but y'all have a much bigger reach. And he said, yeah, let me see those. So went over, got on the landline, dialed a number, hung up. Dialed a number, talked, hung up. Dialed a number, talked, hung up. Within like 7-8 minutes, there were like 8 alphas in the office. And he was like, all right, you take flyers, print out 100, take them this to them. You get flyers, take out 100, take them this to them. You take flyers, go here. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, he was like a general, And it was at that moment I was like, I want that. That action, doing it, handling business, getting about it. And he literally turned like, hey, we got this, appreciate it, we got this, we'll take care of it. And I was like, yep, me too one day. I want everything else that comes with it, the brotherhood, the networking, the camaraderie. But for me at that moment, that was like, I want that. And then after that, I did a deep dive and I found out a lot of people who I consider personal heroes, Dr. King, Du Bois, Cornel West, these men were alphas. I was like, yeah, it's a wrap. So that's my long story long. It was the Me and My March and a random encounter with a brother who took over like General Patton. And I was like, yep, you gonna give me some of that.
My favorite thing about Zeta is the fact that when you're looking at D9 organizations, the reason why Zeta was so focused on service was because a lot of in the beginning, other organizations, they were too focused on women who met a certain criteria financially, but Zeta, they try to step outside of that elitist mindset to help women of color.
My most favorite thing about that, the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, I'll just start when I was here, is we had a guide right program. We actually helped students from RIT-Path. We had an after-school program. And basically doing that program, it just helped us learn the importance of community involvement and helping others. Kind of one of the reasons why we joined, we wanted to be important and that kind of thing. But basically, you become important by giving to others. So basically what happens is the more people you can help, the more you help yourself.
It's interesting because across the nation, Zetas all have the same kind of ethic. I don't know any Zeta that doesn't work hard 24 hours of the day. And I think that what really impresses me with Zeta is we're not really flashy about it either. Sometimes, yes. I think we're kind of the puppeteers of things. We do the behind the scenes work for it to be produced in such a grand manner. And I think that's ultimately my favorite part of Zeta because it's we just have some really amazing people in our sorority. And yeah, that just impresses me.
My favorite part about my organization is definitely the sisterhood. Yes, no, you don't choose your sisters always, but I am always grateful that I do have the sisters that I do have, near and far. They're always, like I said, supporting you, having your back in whatever it is that you do, and you can go anywhere around the world because we are an international sorority and find a family, find a home within this sisterhood.
There are a lot. So we'll say my favorite thing today. It is a fantastic feeling, especially for someone who likes to travel, like myself, to know that as long as I'm somewhere near a college or a city, I'm going to be able to find a member of my fraternity. I got on a flight to Jamaica last year and randomly ran into a brother. It is a great feeling being a part of an organization that has members everywhere. It means you're never truly alone. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what brotherhood and sisterhood is supposed to be about, right? Making sure that you have somebody you can rely on. And so it's a great feeling knowing
favorite memory. This is hard.
My favorite memory. My favorite memory.
I was at a funeral, and a close member of this brother's family, and they had died suddenly and unexpectedly. At a certain point, different people spoke, and somebody got up and spoke. Said, "I'd like all the brothers of Alpha Alpha to stand up." And one whole entire side of the church stood up. Had to been about, there were 300, 400 brothers there, easy. And he said, "We're here to support you, and we got your back." And it sent chills up my spine, you know, because it's one of those things where everyone sees the stepping and the hand signs and the cool letters but they don't see the what we call leaning on the shield. And it was in that brother's lowest moment when he looked up and saw 400 of his brothers standing with him at that funeral. He said, "Yo, we're here. We got you." Give me like one little tear right now. It's a favorite moment, not because it was beautiful. It's one of my favorite moments because it was a broken moment and there were people there standing in the gaps. Those moments for me where you see the brotherhood at work in ways that you don't traditionally see on social media or at parties or on college campuses. You don't get to see 400 brothers at a funeral on Instagram, right? But to see that and to see how it moved that brother and to see how it moved that brother's family, it was a great moment.
My favorite memory that comes to mind is our Founders Day celebration, because we planned it all out and I was able to meet like a lot of the pros that I haven't met from back since like I became a part of Zeta because of COVID and everything. Like these were just names that were like on a website to me or like on a piece of paper, and just getting to see them interact and how we all kind of fit into the sisterhood, it was really like refreshing for me.
My favorite memory would definitely be this past Great Lakers Regional Conference. The conference was really, really nice. It was the first time I've been in the space where it was just so many Zetas from different places within the region. And it was just really beautiful to be around all those Zetas and be learning new things about the organization and how to run the business, and being in the sisterly gatherings and getting to network and know other Zetas. It was just really nice.
I'll tell you the most favorite thing favorite memories. One of the things we were doing while we were pledging, basically what we did every weekend was we would go to a different university, a Kappa party somewhere. At one of those times we went to University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, and there were some Kappas there from Detroit, and they showed us this dance called the Bump. We learned that dance, and it was like, okay, so now we're gonna bring that back to DePaul. And then here's the Kappas on DePaul. They're doing this thing called the Bump. And you know, I just found that was so memorable for me because it showed how you can enact change. Nobody at DePaul knew how to do the Bump until we came here to campus to do it. And we wouldn't have known it if we hadn't gone to the University of Illinois. And that was probably the most memorable experience that I had, because just showed that, hey, you can make change in an organization or in a community, in a city, you know, even in the world.
I would say like it's just like a repeating memory anytime I hang out with the current members of my chapter, because I really love the sisterhood. So I'll be hanging out with Mahogany, Marche, Kayla, and Kayla. Anytime like that is my favorite memory. It's definitely important to have Black Greek organizations, because even looking at the history of Divine Nine was set out to help people of color and communities of color as well, to like who didn't have the resources to go to school, or resources to do well academically or financially. So I feel like to have that kind of community on a campus such as a PWI, it's very beneficial in like helping students find scholarship, helping students find internships, helping students know how to be the best student ever. And when I say students, I mean Black students. So yeah.
I think it's important because with the Black community specifically, sometimes like a little structure is needed, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of a sorority or fraternity. But I do think like we as a community, we tend to band together. Like I always think how productive games would be if they like had like mission statements, like what they like actual goals they would do. But that's the same way I kind of think of like fraternity or sorority life. Like, we're literally groups or organizations that band together with these missions and goals and specific things we want to get done in the community. And through all of our individual actions, we all collectively better the Black community as well as the world as an extent, whether it's through service, programming, on a smaller scale here at DePaul. We all kind of work really hard to provide for the Black community and show up for the Black community. And so yeah, I think it's really important to have that kind of structured organization.
I think everyone wants community, right? We are a communal people. I think it's even more important when you have spaces where people haven't been traditionally given full access for people to be intentional about building communities for themselves. Here is this thing that happens, this camaraderie that happens, this networking that happens, this brotherhood that happens, and we were traditionally excluded from that. And so my founder said, we don't need to be a part of yours, we'll create our own. And there's a legacy of that I think is important. The other thing I've seen, and just as anecdotally, is that a lot of times I think the health of, especially with Black students at colleges, there is a symbiosis between a healthy Black Greek life and a healthy Black population. When the Greek life is healthy and vibrant, the population also is healthy and vibrant, and vice versa. And I think it's important to have these spaces where leaders traditionally come out of. It's important to have these spaces that are curated and created by us that says we also can build strong networks, we also can build strong communities.
It's important for Black Greek life to exist because it, one, provides a space for Black students on PWIs to grow into what it means to be a Black person. It definitely has helped me develop within my own Blackness as a woman, and what it means to actually consciously give back and serve your community, whether that be through actively going out and doing service, or you're on the back ends making sure the programming and whatnot is being done correctly. It's more than about, your social, how you socialize with people. It's more than about, the sisterhood and brotherhood. Like, yes, that's there, but that's not our main priority. Our main priority is to grow and to educate and uplift each other, uplift our Black community, and be very hands-on within the community to actively make change.
I think it's more important, even more important for Black fraternities and sororities to exist because, you're learning the leadership skills, you're learning to collaborate, and I think what a lot of Blacks particularly don't realize is we think that, okay, this is all the things that the white fraternities and the white sororities are learning, but it's really kind of an African thing. Really, and I know they call it Greek, but it's really African. And I don't think many of us realize that the things that we're learning, it's like the collaboration, the leadership, those are very African concepts. Also, I think too, it gives us all a home, a place to kind of get stronger, build bonds, and kind of like a family. I think it's important. Like, let's have this real strong bond with the fraternity or sorority, and then it helps you launch into and work with other people, other groups. That's why I think it's really important. And I know a lot of Blacks go into white fraternities or white sororities. I think that's fine too, but you got to be a really extra strong person in order to do that, because every one of those folks who are in that group usually aren't treated equitably or fairly sometimes.
We don't have to beg to be let in a door that maybe doesn't want us. And that's broadly speaking. It's always better in any type of relationship to be in a space where you are valued and loved, right? And if you've ever been in one of those two relationships, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One thing feels like you're passing time, the other one feels like home. And I think it's important for us to have spaces that feel like home.
If you're joining D9, you better not be joining D9 for clout. You better be joining D9 to put in that work. Because if you're joining D9 for clout, people are gonna know, and I'm gonna clown you. You can use that, because I'm gonna clown anybody who joined D9 for clout. That's a waste of time. How dare you as a Black person join D9 for clout? Literally, if you don't know the history, why are you joining? know the history, make sure you want to put in that work, and be open.
I think the most important thing is to do your research. I don't think every organization is for everybody. And I think, at the end of the day, like I said, it's not like one Greek-led organization is about, uplifting the black community, and the other Greek-led organizations are about, setting fires to things, right? You're not gonna find like somebody's mission statement isn't, I believe we as black men should go and, burn down grocery stores, right? That's not, you're not gonna find that in the mission statement. So all of the organizations, BGLOs, are about the betterment of the community, the uplift of the community, supporting and building and nurturing the community, specifically the black community, the black diaspora community. At that point, it's important to sort of see where your best fit is. What distinct organization or chapter sort of fits the values that you find the most important. If you're a vegan, you can get a really good meal at a steak restaurant, but that restaurant may not be for you. That doesn't mean it's not a good restaurant. That doesn't mean they don't have great food and great cooks. It just may mean that what they have isn't what's going to nourish you. And so I think it's important to make sure you find the thing that nourishes you.
So for anybody interested in joining any Black Greek organization, any Divine Nine, NPHC organization, I would definitely say do your research on every org, not just one that you think you might be interested in, because you might find interest in another. And definitely always, if there's a Greek life present on your campus already, make sure you go out and support those Greek lives, not just who you might be interested in, but support everybody, because that way, if you do become a part of Greek life, you want that same support to be given to you. And so just go ahead and paying that forward in its own way. Do your research and show support to the Black Greek life on campus.
I would say that, of course, it's like a process, you have to go about doing it. But the first step would definitely be to let them know. Just reaching out to people. I know it's kind of hard at DePaul if we're speaking in that context, because we don't have that many here, but showing up at their events, just swiping up on their Instagram stories, things to like keep your name in their like mind or the back of their mind. And then when you really feel comfortable, like you've done your research, you really looked at every possible sorority or fraternity, just go out there and let them know like, hey, I'm looking into this sorority, can you tell me more about it? And from there, the rest is what it is.
If you want to build lifetime bonds with people and you are not narcissistic, I would say join a Divine Nine organization, because not only will it help you build some skills, but it will open up doors that would probably never be open to you if you weren't a member of the Divine Nine. I like to tell the story about the first job interview that I had. I showed up for the interview. There was an HR manager who greeted me, and he noticed on my resume it said Kappa Alpha Psi, member of Kappa Alpha Psi. And he said, Holbrook, there's somebody I want you to meet. And this is like 5 minutes into the interview. So it was the director of human resources, and he came in and we shook hands, and we had the Kappa handshake, and we just started talking about Kappa Alpha Psi, for almost an hour. And then at the end, he was done, and the HR manager was there, and they said, well, hey, Holbrook, do you want a job here? And I said, yeah. And they said, okay, you got it. Get involved in things that you really care about, and maybe your interviewer will care about it as well. So I know we're talking about fraternities here, but I just think the Divine Nine is one of those things that you can put on your resume that will really help you at DePaul and beyond.
Yeah, Lambda Tau chapter is the best.
I love being a Zeta. I love my sisters. I love my chapter. And if you're interested in joining Greek life, I would definitely always say go for it. I have gotten nothing but great benefits from joining this great organization. It doesn't matter which one you join, honestly. They're all good in their own ways, and they all have their own benefits and their own large range of network that you can pull from. And the NPHC in its whole just has a great history behind it. And so just always be mindful of that when you do. If you are interested in joining Greek life, just be mindful of the history behind NPHC, the history behind your specific organization, and why it matters to Blackness as a whole, especially in America.
No, I just think that, it's a time to really get the Divine Nine here on this campus. I think there's a lot of support for it now. In the 70s, there wasn't that much support for, Divine Nine organizations, but I think now with our new president, there's plenty of support. And I encourage anyone who's interested to join, start, and sustain it.
If you're about D9, I know like everybody has their differences, but it's like you should really think about D9 as unifying Black people. I know there's 9 different organizations, but think about D9 unity anytime you're stepping foot in a D9 organization event. You know what I'm saying? It's not about separation. It's about different groups having different ways that they want to help the Black community. And whichever one you connect to is how you connect, but don't bash others.
One of the major differences I found, generally speaking, in Greek life is that BGLOs are considered more of a lifelong commitment. The expectation isn't that you graduate and then you no longer associate. The expectation is that you associate perpetually. A lot of these organizations weren't just built for frivolity, they weren't just built for hijinks, they were built out of necessity, right? They were built because there was nothing there to help protect us, nurture us, feed us. And so what those organizations have done is they've taken that and expanded out from colleges into the wider Black community. If you actually look at the history of the Civil Rights Movement, Black Greeks were all over the Civil Rights Movement. If you look at the history of Black liberation in the United States, you'll find a lot of Greek organizations and individual Greeks had something to do with it, right? And so there's this social contract between Black generations. The rule or goal is for each generation to make it easier to exist in these United States than the previous generation, right? And so I think generally speaking, Black Greeks take that seriously, and they engage in a lot of work in giving back to the community that helps us fulfill that social contract. So if you're thinking about being interested in BGLOs, I think understanding that aspect of it is really important. That maybe what you see on Instagram or on social media or on TikTok is, stepping, strolling, neck rolling, shimmies, these type of things, which are a distinct part, the partying and that's a part of college. But there's another part of Greek life that is rooted in, not on a surface level, but deeply rooted in service to the community. And that service doesn't stop after your 4 years in college. That service is perpetual. I've been in my organization now for 25 years, and I've been engaging in community service for the vast majority of those 25 years. Thinking about it as a lifelong commitment to an organization that is dedicated to the uplift of your community is a better way of thinking about it than a fraternity that I want to join for 4 years.